Welcome to my first vegetable garden. This is my cherry tomato bed. There are 5 tomatoes in there: the black cherry, the black plum, a small cherry, a bumblebee, and a large red cherry in the back. And they're, at 18 inches to 24 inches, they start falling over, and you can let tomatoes grow like that. The reason that you put them up a post and stake them is so that you can better manage the plant, manage disease, and manage pests. But you can see how it's starting to curve, and they basically will bend and crawl along the ground, set roots out of the stem, but it can be kind of messy. So I'm going to show you how to stake it. We're also going to mulch to conserve water. I'm going to prune them so that we create a disease splash barrier between where the wood mulch is going down and the bottom leaves of the tomato. And then we're also going to put down a light feeding of garden tone or any organic fertilizer around a 5-5-5, just a little bit sprinkled across the top, nothing crazy. And then we're going to water them in with fish emulsion, and that will be enough for really feeding these plants and letting them go. But let me get started, because these are the basic things you need to do when your plants get to about 18 inches to 24 inches tall. Now these are indeterminate cherry tomatoes, and it's the indeterminate tomatoes that you really want to prune. Determinate tomatoes tend to get to a set height, flower, set fruit, and die, so you want them to have a lot of growth. The indeterminates we prune and we stake. Now you can see that this post is about 2 inches away. If you sink the post in early when the plants are smaller, you can do something like this. If you would put them in now, go about 6 inches from it, just so you don't shear off any roots close to the stem. Basic twine, and you're going to want to loop the twine so that the stem, if the stem was my finger, has some space like that. You don't want it to be tight where it can cut off the circulation of the plant. And all you're going to do is gently pull it to the stake and tie it just like that. That's plenty of room for the tomato stem to grow and not be damaged. And when this straightens up, we're going to tie it right here. Now for pruning, I do a couple of things. We're going to put mulch down. Mulch will help keep the moisture in. That's great for a tomato plant because you want consistent moisture. Consistent moisture helps the plant not only grow, but it helps stop the fruit from cracking. Sometimes tomatoes' fruits will crack if the soil dries up, then it gets a lot of rain, it pulls in a lot of water, and the tomato will actually crack. For pruning, first thing, cut off some of the bottom leaves. This creates the disease splash barrier, and only take off of a couple. As the plant gets bigger, we'll take off more, but I'll show you that over time. Now, in the joints of the tomato, you have the main stem coming up, and then a leaf coming out, and then the stem comes up. And right in here, this is a sucker, which only means it's a production stem. It will actually grow large, and it will grow a leaf and flowers, and it will produce fruit. When you're growing the indeterminate tomatoes, you can decide how many suckers you want to take off, and you're basically deciding how you want to control the plant. I like to take the suckers off the bottom here, and then as the plant gets bigger, I let the suckers mature and kind of grow outward in a V shape, and I will show you that again over time. But that's totally up to you. You could leave the suckers on. That just means you're going to have a lot of growth, and you're going to want to prune in a different way to help manage diseases. When they get really dense with leaf growth, sometimes they're a little more susceptible to disease. But this is just the basic setup for staking the tomato, removing the bottom leaves, and taking out the suckers. And again, if you're in doubt of whether or not you should take the leaves, just leave them, and when the plant gets bigger you can take them. You don't want to take so much that you cut back the greenery and then the plant just doesn't grow as fast. Let me show you another example. So here's my small cherry. It hasn't been staked yet or pruned, and pruning is really an art form. There's no set exact way to do it. You can decide. You can leave all the growth on there if you don't get lots of diseases and pests in your area, and just let the tomato go wild. But I still would recommend staking it up. So we're going to take out 1, 2, 3 leaves right down here to create the disease splash barrier. And again, the suckers grow. Here's the main stem coming up, the leaf coming out, the main stem going up, and this right in here will turn into the production stem that will flower and bear fruit, but I'm going to remove those. So let me just show you the before and after of this tomato to give you some idea. And again, don't overdo pruning and taking off too many leaves. So here's the tomato pruned out. This is what I took off of that plant. And I took off 1, 2, 3 sections of leaves, took the suckers out of there, in there, and I'm letting them grow right here and right here. And as this plant gets bigger, I'll decide how many I want to take off. But this is your basic staking and pruning when your tomatoes are about 18 to 24 inches tall. So let's get to mulching. So all 5 tomatoes have been pruned, and I removed a lot of the weeds. Take as many as you can, and then we'll get to mulching in a second. And then in this space that's in the camera, I'm just going to put down about a tablespoon of organic fertilizer. Just scattered around just like that. You don't need to go crazy with it. You're just giving it a little bit of a boost, and then we're going to put the wood over that. Now we mulch for three reasons. The shredded hardwood will help control weeds. It will help keep moisture in the soil, and it also helps to stop any diseases born from the soil from splashing up onto the plant. So if there's disease spores down here and it rains or you water and those spores get splashed up onto the leaves, that's how they take hold and work their way up the plant. So we mulch to help with that, and we also remove the leaves from the bottom so it's much harder for anything to splash up onto the underside of the leaf. So just clean up the weeds, and I'm going to put down a 1/2 inch of shredded hardwood and show you what that looks like. And again, about a tablespoon of fertilizer spread out over a pretty wide space. Don't concentrate it, and I'm going to do that all the way up there. And when we're done, we're going to give it some fish emulsion. So here's what it looks like completed. The tomatoes have been staked, lightly pruned, and the area has been mulched out. Put down some light feeding of organic fertilizer beneath the mulch, and that is a slow release. That's going to take time to break down with the soil biology. And now we're going to add in a water-soluble fertilizer. Water-soluble means that the plants can use it right away, and I'm going to use fish emulsion. If you don't have an organic product, you can use the chemical fertilizers. They will not hurt you or your plant. If you're mixing organic compost and organic fertilizers and occasionally use chemical fertilizers, you're not going to harm anything. The soil, the plants, or yourself. It's perfectly safe to use. But that's a personal choice. So I'm going to just take the fish emulsion. It's 1 gallon. Just follow the instructions. If you do use the chemical fertilizers, use them at about 1/4 strength. You just don't need all of that. This is pretty much how I soak them in. You can pour it right over the plant. Give them a soaking just like that with the water-soluble fertilizers. And these plants are good to go. I'm not going to feed them until they're producing midway through, and I will continue pruning every 7 to 10 days as needed, and I will show you some of that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my blog at www.therustedgarden.blogspot.com. Thank you.